Okay, well, welcome back. I hope you all had time to grab something to eat, or at least, restroom break or something. We've got two panels in this session, and we only have an hour. And the session we have right now is, what was? Thank you. This one was public events. Sorry, this one was specifically public events. Again, I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves, and if you can tell us about your audience and how you connected with them, and we'll go from there.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lindsay Fuller from the University of Texas at San Antonio, and the event that I went to, and this was the weekend before the eclipse, this is April 6th and 7th, was the Great Texas Air Show. And the air show actually brings in a lot of people. So they had an audience of over 300,000. Now, I did not talk to over 300,000 people, but they have a STEM exhibit there in one of the hangars. And so we had a presence in the STEM hangar, in the STEM exhibit. And so the air show is kind of special to me because I am an Air Force veteran. So I was a staff sergeant in the Air Force. When I got out and then decided to be an astrophysicist. And then also when I was in graduate school, I did all of my research on the Sophia telescope. So airplanes have been a really big part of my life, so it makes a lot of sense for me to go to the air show and talk about airplanes and space and eclipses with the audience. And so the audience that we were kind of catering to is people who enjoy air shows, so a lot of military people. So I really connect with the people that go to air shows because I can talk about my military experience and my connection with airplanes. And so what we did there was we just handed out educational materials. And then another thing that we wanted to do was to view the sun, but it was so cloudy that there was no way that we could view the sun with sun spotters. And then we had like the Celestron solar viewers. So we weren't able to do that, but we will be able to donate the sun spotters to an organization called Starbase Callie, and that's associated with Lackland Air Force Base, and they do a lot of outreach with the communities around Lackland, and so that was the basis of our mini grant.
Hello, everyone. I'm Faranak Zarnani. I'm a physics lecturer at University of North Texas in Dallas. Our main goal was to provide an event opportunity for our campus and anyone related, like families, friends, and also our neighboring community. But also we had things before the eclipse that I'm going to talk about. So about a year and a half actually before the eclipse, I did start talking about wanting to have an event. My department had a little tiny budget allocated for that, but really getting this grant was wonderful because it really caught the attention of our president and provost. I was able to go back to them one more time and get some help. But things that we did was to, just weeks prior to the eclipse, start to have these sessions, these poster and also like workshop sessions during heavy traffic times of our campus. Some of these were provided by a TJ course, Conceptual Physics. This is a physics class that our education majors take. And some of them are actually working, doing their clinicals. Some of them are becoming science teachers in the future. So they actually worked on this part of the project. We were then again in the open areas of our campus, just giving out information pieces. We also had projects for building your own pinhole projector, things that they could also take home to their families. It was something that I should tell about our university is that 80% of our population is minority. We are in a less fortunate part of the city, the south side of Dallas. So there isn't really a whole lot in terms of public education or STEM opportunities going on. And about 70% of our students are in college for the first time. Many of their families don't speak English, so one of our major goals was to make sure everything we hand out is both in English and Spanish so that they can share it with their families, make their own pinhole viewers, whatever. This also goes with say our whole facilities crew. Many of them don't speak a word of English at all, so we made sure we have information created for them, put it in their areas, things they can share with their families. So we did all of that. We then had a speaker. We had an invited speaker, a space scientist from nearby UT Dallas. And this was really good. Our campus is pretty young and small, so and it doesn't have an active life. When you come, it's pretty quiet, especially Fridays are totally dead. But this talk, which was on a Thursday afternoon, which was my fear if we don't have enough people show up in front of guests, turned out to be overfilled with people. So not only our students, even our staff, faculty came in. That was wonderful. And this, we had a lot of volunteers. This led us to the event day itself. We did, with this grant we got from the AAS, purchase a solar telescope, a celestron, GPS trackers for them, covered a lot of the expense of the glasses that we bought. Our science department had nothing, although I teach astronomy. We didn't even have a pair of binoculars. So this is really nice to have university resources staying with us to do outreach programs and start teaching. We also purchased some sensors that we used on the day. These were temperature and light monitors and weather monitors. So we have students from not just my physics classes, but also I also teach earth science. So earth science and environmental sciences, these all had projects going on, helped us with data collection on the day. And one of our challenges was to figure out how many people might show up and who do we need to really plan all this for. So really we decided we need to have activities for anywhere from PK all the way up to 100-year-old, basically. And our science education folks did a great job, helped us out. We had a lot of booths set up for different age group activities. The turnout was pretty good because early in the day we had clouds and there was a lot of talk about traffic getting bad in the Dallas area, so some people just feared getting on the roads. But we still had about 950. I suspect a few more. I go with this number based on some bracelets and the handing out of the glasses that we did. We also have a construction building on campus, and we reached out to them as well. About 100 people there, so we reached out to them and their families and handed out glasses to them ahead of the event. So thank you for the AAS and helping us out with this pretty successful event.
Hello, I'm Callie. I'm from the Hillsboro City Library in Hillsboro, Texas, which is just a small rural town in Central Texas, just south of DFW. So Hillsboro turned into Eclipseboro. Oh, okay, great. You've all heard of it. So Hillsboro was named, I believe it was Astronomy Magazine named Hillsboro the number 7 place in their 20 best places to view the eclipse. We were right on the path of totality with 4 minutes and 23 seconds of totality. So as Eclipseboro was going to be that weekend, we knew at the library we wanted to do an event before that, because we didn't want to compete with what was going on. So me and our assistant director at the time, who is now our director, created Eclipse FunFest, which was a goal. Our goal was to educate our entire community. And with this grant, we had a mobile planetarium. We had a child performer that did like space magic, to keep the kids engaged. But we also had a former astronomer that was in national parks, and he came and spoke to keep the older people engaged, the adults engaged, because our main goal was to get everybody like 0 to 100. And our library is great with kids events. We have a summer carnival that we do every year. We just had it last week. And it's always a huge turnout, so we're good with bringing the kids in. But the biggest struggle was figuring out what was going to bring the adults in also. So we had our planetarium, we had our 2 speakers. We also had, not from this grant, but this SEAL organization, it was Solar Eclipse Activities for Libraries. We received 2 eclipse kits from them, which included a solar telescope, several sunoculars, a sun spotter, and then just activities for different ages. So at our event, we had that. We also had free food for everybody that was provided by our friends group. And also with the grant, we bought books from Scholastic in Spanish and English. I forgot to say our community is low socioeconomic, lots Hispanic, and a lot of Spanish-speaking only families. So our goal was to reach them as well. But with this grant, we also, beyond just this event that happened, it was at the beginning of March. Beyond that, I was also able to use some of that stuff to go to our high school several times throughout March to teach them about the eclipse. And you would be surprised how many not only didn't know that one was going to happen, but didn't even know what an eclipse was. So lots of educating there. And of course, I'm not an astronomer, I'm a librarian. So on my part, it took a lot of research to get ready to be able to teach them accurately what an eclipse is, but also how to view it safely, and how to educate their friends on it also, because, you know, they can listen to me, but they're not really listening. So to continue the conversation in class and stuff like that. On top of that, we also used all of that stuff for spring break. One of our days of spring break was solar eclipse themed. That day was very cloudy, so we didn't actually get to look at the sun, but we did pinhole viewers. We did the little paper plate things for toddlers where you cut the holes and put the glasses in for safe viewing. And we did those things at the carnival also. Luckily, at the FunFest, we had really good weather. It was a month before the eclipse. At the eclipse, the actual eclipse, it was very cloudy right up until the very last minute. And because we were in such a good spot, oh my goodness, we were so excited that it cleared up so that we could see. So yes, we had about 500 people come to our event, which is exactly what we planned for. We measured it by the number of glasses we gave away. We gave away eclipse glasses. I don't think I said that. The number of hot dogs and the number of books we gave away. It was very successful.
Hello everyone, my name is Ryan French. I'm at the National Solar Observatory. National Solar Observatory, NSO, it's an NSF Aura-funded research lab. We're based, the headquarters in Boulder, Colorado, and then out in Maui, we have the world's largest solar telescope, 4-meter aperture, which is not a lot for nighttime astronomy, but for solar telescopes, just so many photons, all right, so many photons from that telescope. Sort of compared to other NSF-funded labs with a similar sort of size and funding, they have a very low or small education and public outreach team. There's sort of 3.5 employees, so it falls a lot to the scientists. I'm a postdoc, I'm a scientist, to do a lot of that work. We decided we wanted to utilize this eclipse and the annular in 2023 as well to sort of pivot public attention from the eclipse to also a longer lasting interest in the sun, because the sun is cool. We care about the sun for many, many reasons. So again, the EPO team and a team of scientists decided we're going to go down to Texas. We needed some local partners there, which is where we actually met Dr. Jen Miller, who you heard from earlier. And we partnered with her group both for the October annular and for this recent April eclipse as well. We had a big event which was planned for April 8th in a stadium. And sort of the way we wanted to capture the public's interest and get people involved in that is we headed down a week earlier to the area. We visited a few different elementary schools, gave them eclipse glasses, showed them views through solar telescopes, did eclipse-related science activities, did a community sort of cultural eclipse conference, and all this time sort of promoting, saying, bring your parents to this event on Monday, like bring your friends, bring your neighbors. And sort of when I knew it was going to be a success was kind of the week prior at the school. We were giving these kids eclipse glasses. No eclipse in the sky, just the sun, looking through the eclipse glasses. Wow! Like amazed at the uneclipsed sun. I knew they were going to react very well to the eclipsed sun. So we had this event planned, and part of we used this AAS grant was to build essentially a viewing experience or an activity for that stadium. Otherwise, it was going to be a big empty stadium for the most part. And we combined these different ways to view the eclipse as disco ball, these colored sort of spectral things, with science experiments to try and actually link the science of the eclipse to something tangible which they might learn in school, like the multi-wavelength nature of light. The sun looks different in different wavelengths. You look different in an infrared camera than you do otherwise. And And it's good we had those activities because the day of the event was mostly cloudy. They did see the eclipse totality moments of it through there, but it was too windy. We couldn't even have the sides up to the tent. So the tent had to come. The sides of the tent came down. Disco ball. It was too cloudy. We were also planning on this sort of event to do a National Science Foundation live stream of the eclipse, which I was going to be co-hosting. Some of you might be familiar with the political situation down in Eagle Pass, which is where we were based. About 10 days before, we got told we couldn't host the live stream from Eagle Pass because various political reasons there. So I was actually whisked away the night before Eclipse Day. So I wasn't at the event that I helped plan on Eclipse Day, but it was a success. Jen was there as well. So yeah, that's it from me.
So hi, I'm Amanda Leith from the McAuliffe-Shepard Discovery Center in Concord, New Hampshire. Our primary goal was to broaden our audience and broaden our reach within our community. New Hampshire is not known for being a very diverse state in the country, but Concord is what's considered a sanctuary city. So we have a large New American community that we've worked with many times in the past, people from Afghanistan, Congo, Haiti, Venezuela, etc. And a lot of those students within those communities are served by the Boys and Girls Club in Concord. We have about 4 or 5 sites in the city of Concord. So we really wanted to go about going through the process of training staff. We had kind of train the trainer events for the Boys and Girls Club, for our teachers within the rural communities in the state, and for our NHTI students, student volunteers that were interested in learning more about the eclipse, but also being able to be an educator on the day of and go through activities and observing with the community on their campus. We held 2 teacher trainings for local educators in the rural communities northwest of Concord, where we had about an hour-long presentation giving them background information about the eclipse. Then we split off into different grade bands, pre-K through 2, 3 through 5, and then 6 through 8 with a high school teacher mixed in. And we went through standalone NGSS aligned lesson plans for their students, where we focused on not only allowing the students to understand what an eclipse is, but why they happen. So obviously for the younger age groups, it's a little bit harder to explain those very broad, very high-level topics. So we tried to focus most on motion and shadows. Kids can understand that if they jump up, they're not going to keep going up into space, so it gives us a little bit of opportunity to talk about gravity. And they also got to do, I don't know if you've ever done portrait shadows, where you kind of had them sit sideways up against a wall. You put a piece of black paper on the wall and you trace their shadow, and that gets put onto a piece of paper for them to take home to their families, almost like a lovely little portrait of them, kind of mimicking being the moon in the case of a total solar eclipse. For grades 3 through 5, we tried to get them to model the eclipse a little bit more with Play-Doh. So they did the size and the relative size and distance of the Earth and Moon, and then went into a modified activity from the Lawrence Hall of Science called Big Sun, Little Moon, where they understood that even though the sun is much, much bigger than the moon, the distance is what allows us to be able to see an eclipse. And then finally, for the 6 through 8, we made telescopic pinhole projectors with the screen on the inside, so they were able to kind of see the world around them as well and understand a little bit about how pinhole cameras work when you just use them with the sun kind of shining onto the ground. And they also use their kind of measuring skills, their calculation skills to determine the diameter of the sun and the moon through the measurement of the pinhole image, another activity that we modified from the Lawrence Hall of Science. So through that, we also gave the teachers a little bit more time to talk with each other, kind of network, but also be able to connect in how they were going to use these materials in their classrooms and beyond. Many of the teachers told us that they were so excited to continue to use them even after the eclipse. The next one that we're going to see in New Hampshire isn't going to be for a really long time. So the next totality is in 2079 coming through New Hampshire. So it's many, many, many years away. But the teachers are really excited to be able to take these things back to their classrooms For our activities with the Boys and Girls Club, we held one training. We had sent them a presentation that we had pre-recorded. It was something that we had actually done for the for Williams College Alumni Association back in January. So we recorded that, sent that off to the Boys and Girls Club staff to be watched prior to our training day. We only had about an hour to go through all of the different activities that we were going to be giving them to do on the day of the event on April 8th for their students. We had hoped to reach 14 sites within central and northern New Hampshire. We ended up reaching 27. They were really, really excited about the opportunity to get these activities. We gave them 12 sunspotter telescopes. Those sun mats that I had talked a little bit about in my 1 minute talk at the beginning, we gave them 9 tabletop versions of those with some round moon puzzles so they could do them and also pass them around to different sites as they go on throughout the next couple of years. And then enough materials for Eclipse chalk art, cyanotype sun prints, and pinhole projectors, in addition to solar eclipse classes, which I'll touch upon a little bit towards the end. So we gave them all of those things, showed them how to use them, and they were able to successfully use them on the day of the eclipse. We had amazing weather on April 8th, and we got lots of really great pictures back from them of all the kids either using their glasses or doing the activities as well. For our NHTI students, we had 2 students who volunteered to join us. So we gave them some sunspotter telescopes. We gave them 2, one each to use with students and faculty on campus. It was a little bit of a bummer on that side. Campus decided to continue with classes as normal, so most of the students were in class during the eclipse. I know, right? It was a little disappointing, but some of the kids, you could see them in the windows looking with the eclipse glasses, but they weren't able to go outside and join us for the event. So in the future, we're definitely going to want to push that a little bit more with them to try to get more involvement because we're right next door to them. We're a great resource for us, for them. They're a great resource for us. We'd like to do more of that work with them. And then for us in person, we did a lot of hands-on activities throughout the day with about 1,200 visitors, including the chalk art, the puzzles, the cyanotype sun prints to talk about solar science, as well as lots of observing opportunities with a hydrogen alpha telescope, a few binoculars, another sunspotter telescope, and a light sound device by Harvard, which allowed several of our visitors who have low vision to hear the eclipse, and that was something that was given to us by another local science museum, the Sea Science Center down about 20 minutes south of us. We lent them a telescope, they lent us that. It was really wonderful partnership there. The New Hampshire Astronomical Society was also a key part of our day and of our success. They brought a few telescopes to work with our general public and got to talk to them a lot, which was really wonderful. We were about an hour south of totality, so for the most part, if people could go north, they did for the day. That included many of our volunteers, several of our staff, and a majority of the people in the state. Northern New Hampshire is not equipped to handle totality. It has one main road to get up and down. So it did take many people upwards of 13 hours to get home to the south of the state. On a normal day, it can take you 3 to go up and down the state. So it was definitely a very interesting day, a very exciting day.
I'm going to get you to move on.
No worries, no worries. Here you go. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Rick Bates. I'm with the Southern Vermont Astronomy Group and the Weathersfield Proctor Library in Weathersfield, Vermont. I wore both of those hats throughout this. As part of the Southern Vermont Astronomy Group, I've been on the board there for years, and I've been arguing that we really needed to get a solar telescope. And everyone on the board agreed that that would be lovely, but then they'd look at the price of them, and which is, most years, it would have taken more money than we had in the treasury to have gotten one. But the grants came along, and I grabbed onto that and got together with the library, where I'm also on the board, and an adjacent library. And the three of us, the three organizations, pulled together an application for a Coronado SolarMax 3. I heard someone else mention one of those earlier today. A good choice. Got the double stack. We got something called a Solar Quest mount. It's a GPS mount. You push a button and it sits and thinks for a while, and then it turns around and finds the sun. And you may have to tweak it a little, but once it finds it and you get it right in the center, it just follows it all day long. Wonderful, and we would never have been able to have afforded that. I did a lot of publicity. Both libraries did a lot of publicity, and we have a public field in Perkinsville, which is one of the little villages in Weathersfield, that we all have access to. A lot of parking, flat ground, easy access. So we announced that we were going to have a solar viewing there, and in every bit of advertising that I did and all of the outreach, I said, but don't come. Because you're an hour away from totality. You'd be crazy not to go. 70 people showed up, which in our town is a lot. And they had a wonderful time. I had brought along my Dobsonian with a neutral density filter. And between the two, and we distributed 1,000 pair of solar glasses starting a couple of months before, and still had some for that gathering. We had a wonderful day, and when we got it, we pulled together the directors of the two libraries and myself, and one of the other trustees, board of directors members of the Southern Vermont Astronomy Group was at the time the director of the Perkin Observatory in Dublin, New Hampshire. He put on a training for us all on open the box, take it out, do this, do that, walk you through the whole setup and disassemble. And we filmed that, and that has now been edited and put together, and that is now posted through the Weathersfield Proctor Library website. Anyone who wants to check out a Coronado and see whether or not it's something they could set up, go and you get trained for nothing. Anyway, we had a great time with it. Now, hearing all of the numbers that you guys are talking about, my 70 is pretty small, but the important thing is that we now have we have two libraries and an astronomy group in southern Vermont who now have joint access to a solar telescope, so we can do daytime outreach that isn't just giving somebody a brochure, it's actually giving them that chance to go, wow, because they actually see a sunspot. And we will be doing outreach with it for 20 years or more. Anyway, thank you very much for it.
Thank you. Okay. Does anybody have questions? Okay, so I've got one in the back over there and then one over here. Give me a sec.
Hi. Great to hear about all your events and how successful they were. Question, I kind of thought about this talking about the SolarMax 3. Did any of you have any issues of people coming to your event and wanting you to help them set up their equipment? This was like one of my biggest, I don't know if I want to, or I need someone else to be a pinpoint person, but maybe you guys had a different experience.
Anyone want to field that one?
Perfect. So we didn't necessarily on that day, but we tend to quite often. A lot of our events that we host at night, people will just come and bring their telescopes and want us to set their telescopes up for them right away, right there. So we tend to kind of send them to either a specific person that works in our observatory at the Discovery Center or to the New Hampshire Astronomical Society. The New Hampshire Astronomical Society does, I believe they were the first to do the Library Telescope Program, which is now worldwide. So they have a lot of really great experience with that. So that's where we tend to push them towards, just making sure that they have the resources from the experts to be able to do that, not necessarily right in the middle of an event.
Okay, well, we had another question back here.
Hi, this may not pertain to all of you, but as this was a public event, did you get any private sector, business community, Chamber of Commerce support, involvement in any of this? Thanks.
Nice question. Let's start this end.
Well, our local town made the field available to us. It's a ball field picnic area, it's town property, and the adjacent building where I set up a PowerPoint just on a rotating basis for information about what eclipses are, how they work, so people could go in and check that out. One of the libraries provided hot cocoa for everyone. I think that was it. We really didn't need a lot.
But as far as the other side, would they have understood why their involvement would have been of value if they supported science? That's the thing, is how do you get them involved? You want science to continue, the private sector needs to.
I think in our area, yes. This is a Stellophane T-shirt. Stellophane is in Springfield. That's the next town to Weathersfield. That was a town full of machinists who made their own. If you want to be a member of the Springfield Telescope Makers, you have to grind your own lenses to do it.
Can I get you to the microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry. So in the area, there is a lot of just kind of support because Grandpa did it for astronomy things.
I would say we had a lot of support as well. We tend to, at the Discovery Center, especially from like our governor, the Department of Education. On the day of the event, our governor showed up. The head of the Department of Education came for the state. We had 3-4 news organizations, local but also Boston-based, that were reporting live from our organization. And also the Department of Education had reached out to us back in December. We had done a presentation for the superintendents, that they have a local meeting every month, about the importance of the eclipse. So the Department of Education reached out about eclipse glasses and the best ways to get them so that they could give them to every student in the state. So I would say we tend to have a lot of really great support since we were, many years ago now, a state-run organization, but now we're a private nonprofit. So it's just kind of continued, which is good.
Yeah, I don't have much more to sort of say, but support from and partnerships, I should say, with local school districts, local colleges, not private companies, as far as I can recall.
As our city library, our city is definitely very supportive of us, our chamber, everyone. They share what we share on Facebook, and anywhere they share that. Our newspaper is really great about letting us advertise for free. I just send them whatever I want, and it's in there. Our local radio station also advertises. We had a local news station come out also. We were on the news for 30 seconds. And we also partner with schools. I drove around to every school in the county, passing out flyers, and then I deliver them, they pass them out. So we always get great support as a library.
So at our university, no, we did not have any private help. Establishing those kind of relationships is above my pay grade anyway. I wouldn't be able to do that. But we reached out to our local schools, inviting them over, and an issue with that was they wanted us to provide transportation, which we really couldn't, and they didn't come, but everything was just school-based.
Since my event was very military-centric, there wasn't a whole lot of private industry involvement. But one thing that they did have was the Friday before, in which we didn't participate this year. They do have a STEM event for high schoolers, and so they'll bus in high schoolers from all of the local San Antonio high schools to go to the STEM hangar, specifically for the STEM hangar. And so I think that was probably the best example of community involvement.
Okay, well, we're going to run out of time, so I'm going to ask you to give a nice round of applause for this group. And we're going to switch over to our next panel.